Hello everyone and welcome to the Art of Teaching Art. Today I'm going to be showing you how to draw a portrait using the gridding method. Now when we're talking about this method we are thinking about just transferring an image which is the same size onto the same size piece of paper. You can also use this method to draw a smaller image larger as long as the paper is in proportion, so that means using A5, A4, A3 pieces of paper to enlarge because they are the same ratio. Now with this I'm just going to draw the same image, the same size image onto the same size piece of paper in my book because I'm just looking to be accurate with the image I'm drawing. So what we're trying to do is draw a grid on our page, draw a grid on the image, and then start to draw our outlines. We will then rub out the grid lines and shade the portrait. Now in this video I'm only going to show you drawing the grid lines and drawing the outline. The shading part will come as a separate video. Now with this it's really important that you don't draw your grid lines too hard, because if you do you won't be able to rub them out. So it is really, that's the most important part. Any little details that you add you can always edit later on when you get onto the shading part. So I have chosen an image from the internet, and what I've done is I've resized it so it is 25 centimeters by 18. Is a lot easier in this kind of thing if you've got whole numbers to start with when you're gridding, because otherwise it becomes a little bit tricky with the maths. And then on my page here I've drawn a box, a rectangle, which measures the same, so 25 by 18. Now you've got a choice. You can print out the image and then grid it manually with a pencil and ruler, or you can try a gridded image online. I have used PowerPoint to divide this image into different sections, but I'm going to show you how to do it manually. Now when we're gridding an image we are thinking about dividing it in half, half again, so that you're always going to be in proportion. You could say divide it into centimetres or something like that, but actually that's not going to help you learning this technique in the long run. So it might help you to work out the measurements first of all. So I know that half of 25 is 12.5, half of 18 is 9, half of 12.5 is 6.25. So by doing the maths to help me divide it, I then know the measurements of things. I don't have to work it out on the fly. So I'm going to get a ruler and a pencil. If you're working with quite a dark image you may want to get a white pencil, but I'm just going to use pencil to focus on the face because there's nothing in the background, so it doesn't really matter if I need to draw that. And then I will start by dividing in half. So half lengthways is 12.5, so I will measure that from the image, 12.5, and divide the image in half. And then the same the other way. So 18 divided by 2 is 9. And then I'm dividing in half again, so we can measure this way. So 9 divided by 2 is 4.5. And then we're going half again the other side, so that is 6.25. So this is where the measurements become a little bit trickier. So there we've got it divided into 16 sections, and we're going to divide it further, but just focused around the face area, because actually drawing in shapes like this in a larger rectangle is fine, but around the face you want more detail, because actually drawing in that rectangle you want to see where the eye is going to come. So in these 4 squares in the centre of the face I'm going to divide them in half and then half again. You can of course divide the whole image, it's just time pressures as it were. So we've got 4.5 divided by 2, which is 2.25. And then half the other way. It's a little bit more tricky because it's 6.25 divided by 2, which is 3.12. So that's going to be a bit more tricky. So I'm just going to take it from the top. If you wanted to be even more detailed around the eyes, for example, you could divide in half and half again. So I'm just going to divide this section here and this by the lips because that's the most complicated sections. So I've finished gridding now, so basically the rule is half and half again, and make sure you do that across the whole thing. So I've got a lot more grids on the face, and then around the outside I've got larger grids. Now this gridding method is going to help you be more accurate, it's going to help you keep the face in proportion, because especially when drawing an image like this, which is a kind of model or from a magazine, their faces are fairly symmetrical, but even when you're drawing from your own photographs or anything like that, this method's going to help you keep everything in proportion in the right place, and it's fairly easy for you to then do your drawing. So the next thing is to draw this grid out onto my plain piece of paper. Okay, so I finished my gridding. The kind of middle squares, I've done a more detailed grid for the main facial features, and then there's larger grid sizes around the outside. I could have gridded the whole thing with these smaller grids, but just time-wise it's easier just to do the face area. So now what we're trying to do is draw each rectangle. Now I would recommend that you start in the top corner, work across, and then move down and down again. When you get into the face section, you can work across one rectangle at a time. Now, where you've got an image like this, where it's quite dark in this section, you might want to look at the image digitally to see. Now I can see just a faint outline trace around here. So I'm going to start with that. So we've got just the edge of the hairline first of all. Now when you're looking at these boxes, you're looking at where the line comes within the box. It takes a little while to get used to it, but then once you're used to it, you will find yourself finding it a lot easier to do this kind of thing. So I'm just going to draw a line coming up and round. I will draw the detail of the hair in later. There's in this box, we've got a bit of the forehead coming in. So we've got a little bit of the forehead coming in here, and then up nearly halfway across the box, dips down. So just this is the hairline. We'll draw the detail of the hair in later. Then in my next box, again, I've got the hairline. Now it comes down here, just about this line here. So it scoops round and comes down about there. Then at the top of this box, we've got the hairline coming, the edge of the hair coming down, kind of in a flat type shape. And then we're into the final box on that row. So we've got quite a few wisps of hair here. The actual hair comes out just a little bit into the next box, but the wisp of hair comes up and loops round here. Then we'll move down into the next box here. So we've got the edge of the face coming down, but it kind of disappears into shadow. So I'm going to draw where the shadow comes in. So nearly up to this line here. And then we've got the eyebrow coming in the centre of that line there. And then we've got the edge of the face and the ear. So not quite halfway across the box. And it curves around so it comes underneath where the eye is. And curves down. What I'm going to do is draw the outside edge boxes first, and then I'll go into the detail of the face. So this one underneath comes down, and then in this box there's nothing else in that box, and then in this box you've got her shoulder, and into the next box. Then in this box, you haven't really got anything, but I'm going to draw this detail of highlight on the chest, so it comes down within this box here and back up, and then you've got the shadow which comes up this way. Then into this spot, you've just got where the collarbone comes across and where the bend of the shoulder then will be, and the shadow that comes along with that. Then into the final box, along this bottom here, we've just got a soft curve of the shoulder. In this box, it's just that tiny little bit there. And then this will be the final outside box, which you've got part of the ear. So it comes out just above this box here. It comes down and then scoops back in here. And you've got a wisp of hair kind of coming outwards up, so you can kind of draw that in as well. So we've got our outside edges. So coming on to drawing the actual face then. So we're going to do the exact same process, drawing little box by little box. First row of boxes, we've basically got nothing apart from the hairline. And then into our second row of boxes here, we've got the eyebrow coming across. I'm just going to draw a single line for that eyebrow first of all. It's slightly diagonal, so it nearly comes down to the bottom of that box. It just takes 2 boxes, it comes into that last box there. Then we've got 2 boxes, and the next eyebrow starts partially in that box. It swoops up across the boxes, nearly to the top, and then down to meet the centre here. Now you might want to block in a little bit more of the shape, but again doing this in very lightly sketched pencil lines because we can build up the detail of the eyebrows later. And then moving down into the next row. So we've got a little bit of darkness here where the eye is. So we can draw the line coming above the box slightly, which swoops down across this box. And that's the eyelid. So we're looking really carefully at the shapes. Then we've got the rest of the eye. And then I can move across to the kind of start of the nose. So there's the shadow of the nose in this box here. And then across to the other eye. Okay, so I've got the other eye in as well, and then I can move across to where the ear is, and then the edge of the face. And I can go down into the next row. So we've got kind of a limited amount of stuff here. We've just got the shadow of the nose, so we can draw the shadow of the nose and then nothing else in that row, and then we move down to the next row. So this is where the main part of the nose is. So we've got first box, we've got a slight shadow from the cheek that we could add in. And then into this box you've got the end of the shadow of the nose. And then we've got nothing else in that row, so we come down to the lip, so we can draw the edge of the chin in. So I'm looking at where the lines kind of intersect each other. So in the centre of the lips, the Cupid's bow, a line goes directly there. Where lines come kind of halfway down the box, and using that to get my shapes right. And then coming down to the next row so I can draw the rest of the chin. And then I can just do that final row where the neck meets the head. And then I've got the basic whole of my image drawn out. So what I'm going to do now is just look back over and check the details. So I've got a line coming up this way, which is just off centre of the nose. So I just want to check that I've positioned things in the correct kind of way. Check that the pieces of the mouth are even. And this is one of those things where you will alter it as you do the shading part of it as well. I'm generally happy with that. Thing is a bit tricky on this side of the face because we've got the shadow there, but obviously when it comes to shading we will shade that, and so that won't look so strange, and we'll add our details. So that is how you draw a grid onto a picture and then transfer that onto your page. I will show you how to shade it in the next video. Thank you so much for watching and have a really great day.